Yo, what's up guys? So we are here to showcase off the new Valkyrie Sigrun in action over here. And this card actually has a lot of utility. So with fun over here, we're going to be able to actually Foolish Burial the Blaze Accelerator, which will basically start off with one of our Regekis of many in this deck. But basically this is a new Valkyrie, got announced not too long ago. It is going to be a V-Jump exclusive, but it's kind of strange because Valkyries were a TCG exclusive, but they're getting them quite early in the OCG. And again, this is a promotional V-Jump card. So I'm not sure when we are getting this card, but it really lets Valkyries actually extend their combos much easier, because some of the cards in Valkyries you just open up with too many, whatever the case may be, and you don't have access to them. But anyways, this card's in your hand, you're able to target a face-up spell trap you control, you can send it to the graveyard, and if you do, you get to special summon this card. And if it's normal or specialed, you get to special summon one level 8 or lower Valkyrie monster from your hand or graveyard. You can only use each effect of it once per turn. So basically, this card comes out, it's going to bring out another monster, but what we're really here for, even though we got Super Pollen, is being able to Regeki during your opponent's turn. And on top of that, you have the Final Light, which is kind of like their version of Soul Charge. So you play on multiples of 1,000, target a Valkyrie monster in your graveyard with a different name, and then for every 1,000 paid, you get to special summon them. Then your opponent can special summon monsters with 2,000 or less attack from their graveyard, up to a number of monsters special summoned by this effect. Now, your opponent can get a bunch of monsters, and it doesn't matter. And the reason why it does not actually matter is simply due to, well, you're just going to go ahead and pop the field with, of course, the Blaze Accelerator, with, of course, your Volcanic Engine. Plus, you technically have the Orcus combo in here, which will allow you to basically go for the Topologic, which is just going to go ahead and clear out your opponent's board in the first place. Unlucky for him getting the double Thunderbirds. But I got a few different replays to go ahead and showcase off and show you guys how this deck can run, because there are a few cards you can definitely utilize. I was even thinking that, like, if you decide to play the Guard Dragon engine, if you want to opt to play any Pendulum variant, you will have a lot of easy access to getting rid of some cards to go ahead and special summon Sigrun, which will then get you those additional combos. Because again, with Funf, which is one of the more important ones over here, this card is just a really simple card, where if you control a Valkyrie other than itself, you get to just send any spell and trap from your deck to the graveyard. And that can obviously be quite good when you use Blaze Accelerator, which is the point of this build, which is the Orcus variant. So with Topologic, obviously whenever something gets summoned to it, you get to go and just pop the board. And that can definitely be really easy to OTK once you're able to go ahead and summon a bunch of things. So once again, Final Light is indeed here. And we're just here to really proc some of these other effects, because it doesn't actually stop their effects, which is obviously quite good here. So we're going to go ahead and get all of the Valkyrie effects. Even though we do have to pay a bunch of life points, it doesn't matter, because it doesn't like stop your battle phase like Soul Charge would. And like I said, this is what makes it so OP. And then we also can go ahead and now activate the Blaze Accelerator reload, which was going to go ahead and Regeki your opponent's board. So basically, you special summon a bunch of monsters, your opponent special summons a bunch of monsters, but you get your effects, and depending on what you're playing up against, sometimes your opponent might get some searches. But for the most part, it doesn't really matter, because you're going to be able to win the game, usually within this turn, because you're going to be able to do a bunch of damage due to the effects of just clearing out the board. So he's going to go ahead, go for the Dunker, get some small amount of burn damage in, and also Dystopia actually does some burn damage as well, but we're going to go ahead and once again summon the Din Girsu, which is just going to go ahead and send that to the grave, and then from here it's going to be game over. But yeah, this card right here is very, I would say, unfair, because you get to special summon a bunch of monsters, and then again your opponent does get to summon them too, but you're really looking to proc all of your effects while clearing the board at the same time. But let's go ahead and check out, I have two more replays to showcase off. This one is up against the L-Swarm archetype. It doesn't really matter what your opponent is playing with this deck. You do technically lose out to Nibiru. I would say there are a lot of combo decks that just will straight up lose. At least you will have that Blaze Accelerator reload though to kind of be a little bit better, because depending on what Orcus variant you are playing, sometimes you can just straight up lose if you get Nibiru'd, which is something that my Orcus variant with the Mermills, if you can slap a Moon and Glacia up on the board, it doesn't really matter, especially if you can do it from Aqua Dolphin and or the Atlantean Prince. You don't really go minus, so this is like another variant of this, so he's going to go ahead and lose out on his monster. Not that it really matters, because he's going to go ahead and activate the infection, so the monster doesn't go away anyways. He's going to go ahead and cycle through some more cards, but it can be very difficult to, I would say, deal with this. So he's going to obviously activate Thunderbird. Thunderbird's going to go away, and it's going to come back and get some extra attack, but it really doesn't matter too much at the end of the day. This card does have its effect stopped right now, which actually kind of benefits himself here. So he's going to go ahead and actually attach material. Thunderbird's going to go ahead and say it later. And then we see Torrential also being activated here. And we're going to go ahead and be pretty much a-okay on it because Dingirsu, you can protect your cards anyways. Then with Super Poly, you're able to make a game quite easy. I just thought that was a good little tech there. And I will also give you guys the deck profile. I would say this is the most competitive Valkyries have technically been. I know this one against the Elswarm deck isn't what I would consider the most meta, but there was a danger variant earlier on in the duel. But again, with most Orcus decks, it's just like you go turn 1 and you basically win. And again, this is basically adding another copy of Raigeki. Plus, technically it has a little bit of recovery against sometimes Pendulums and I would say Orcus. Sometimes if you can break their board turn 1, like, they have no recovery. But with this deck, you have a little bit more recovery because the Valkyries do allow that. Basically, of course, with light, you basically have a soul charge, and then he's going to go ahead and make Utopia Lighting, but it doesn't really matter at this point because, well, Topologic is a pretty good card, and even though he's not going to get Topologic's effect because that's in a different area, it doesn't matter because, of course, Blaze Accelerator Reload can be activated and get rid of Utopia because that was his goal with that card. So he's going to go ahead and get back a Steel Swamp. It really doesn't matter. Here's the final light, because it's pretty much game over with this card. So he's going to go and summon a bunch of monsters. And again, depending on what deck you're playing against, this could be bad, just as a heads up. But try to make sure that your opponent doesn't have anything. He's going to go ahead and increase the attack by a little bit, giving him an extra monster. Then Dingirsu, this is supposed to destroy everything, but he's going to go ahead and protect it. And the guy's just like, okay, you got me, dude. You got me. All right. But Valhalla is still a pretty good card. And I was even thinking that you could potentially, if you did want to, make this deck even more stunned. And I'm going to go ahead and hop right into it. Talking about how to make this deck a little bit more competitive, because I noticed that this deck was pretty easy to spam out the board with monsters, because a lot of the Valkyries can be spammed out quite easy. Because Shesti over here, if it's special summon, you can special summon another Valkyrie from your deck, except for itself, and then you can go ahead and go into Funf, which is going to go ahead and activate your Blaze Accelerator. But if you don't want to go for that, you also have another option. The Drit over here, if it's normal or special summon, you get to add a Valkyrie card from your deck to your hand, which of course could be whatever you want. If you happen to have Sigrun as a target that you want to go ahead and add, this can let you spam the board even further, going into other Orcus Link plays. And then what I was also thinking, because they are fairies, you can actually recycle fairies quite easily, especially in the Orcus build, because you have Babel, you can maybe get the effect of Babel real quick. And then if you do want to get rid of Babel, or you can go ahead and get rid of Valhalla, or I was even thinking that you can extend this even further, going into, this was a card that could definitely see some play here with, of course, Sigrun. But if you wanted to go with Ib, you can definitely make another build with that. And I was thinking Christia, this is actually one of the best fairy cards like ever. So Archer Christia, if you have exactly 4 monsters in your graveyard, you can actually just special summon this card from your hand. And if it's special summoned this way, you get to target a fairy in your graveyard and then re-add back that target to your hand, which of course can be whatever you want. But the main effect that you want with Christie is that neither player can special summon monsters. So what I was thinking that if you really wanted to, you can try to play around Nibiru. It depends definitely on when your opponent activates Nibiru, but if you can still get out Christia and then re-add back the fairy card, I mean, Drit is going to go ahead and let you re-add back, because you would add back this. Next turn, you go ahead and summon Drit. You go ahead and add that extra Valkyrie card from your deck. And like I mentioned before, it could be pretty good. Unfortunately, though, Final Light is... If it was a Valkyrie Final Light, oh my gosh, this would be actually super OP, because this is basically the recovery of the deck. And then we've also got Furless Burial Goods, although this card is basically the card that you want to be sending to the graveyard. So it makes the deck so good, being able to, again, Raigeki your opponent without even needing Raigeki. Depending on what you're playing against, this can be quite good. I mean, a lot of times people are just really focusing on negating monster effects. And if you are able to just go ahead and just send this to the grave, activate it, good stuff indeed. But anyways, onwards with the deck profile, now that I got the Christie out of the way, because I do want to say that Valkyries do have some more potential later down the line if you decide to go ahead and build maybe a more pure variant. I haven't seen any competitive deck lists for them, but I think with Orcus, they can be quite good because it's relatively easy to go into. But anyways, yo, shout out to my boy Teriyaki for figuring this out, because I haven't seen anyone even talk or play about Valkyries at all. But it's definitely a build. And like, even though today we're focusing on Orcus build, I think I want to try one with Christia, because like I said, you can just go into link spam and then summon Christia, follow it up, and it could be really good. Especially if you can actually go Dingirsu, then Christia, to protect Christia. Oh, dude, you're so set. But anyways, ranted long enough here. Let's finally get started with the deck profile. But I just wanted to mention the tech choices because I wanted to talk about Valkyries, because I love the artwork, but I know no one's really been talking about them. Anyways, 3 copies of Sigrun. I mean, like I said, it can be, if you want to, we're talking other builds, pendulums or stuff like that, or if you can just go ahead and throw in Dark Worm just for an extra free summon, you can go ahead and just utilize, of course, Ravine. But anyways, 3 copies of Sigrun, 1 copy of the World Scepter, 1 copy of Brynhild. I didn't really talk about this one, but it's just another Valkyrie at the end of the day. But when an opponent monster declares attack, you can have this card lose 1,000, and then if you do, the Valkyries are immune. But it's just another card with another name, to be honest, though. They have Nightmare, of course. I usually like to play 2 of these. And then we have, of course, the Harp Horror. And then 2 copies of the Hecatrice, which just lets you add Valhalla. Plus, it's another Fairy in the Grave. And then Drit, which is the one that just lets you search out. And then we've got 1 copy of Symbol Skeleton. A lot of people do like, if you guys do want to play this, though, I think double copies of Symbol Skeleton and Harp Horror are totally okay as well if you happen to have ways that you can utilize discard outlets. And then, of course, we have Funft over here, which is just going to let you, of course, Foolish this. And then we have 3 copies of Scattershot. Keep in mind that it's any spell and trap. It doesn't have to be that card. So you can technically, with some decks, maybe if you guys want to think of other ideas of other cards that you can Foolish, definitely think of that and let me know in the comment section below. And, of course, your Scattershots. And then 3 copies of Shesh over here. So that's just special summon a Valkyrie from the deck, which can be whatever you want except for itself. And then it has this other effect where you can send the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck to the graveyard. I don't know, honestly, how I feel about that. Sometimes it can be okay, but a lot of times it's usually going to be more plus for your opponent. But at the same time, you are able to see what they are playing. So that can be kind of helpful. Then we have 1 for 1, of course, with this as a target. And then we have 3 copies of Foolish Burial Goods, Reborn, and then Inheritor, World Legacy Burgeoning, and then we have, or was it Monstrosity in the TCG, and then Super Poly, which I've actually really liked this card. It actually really deals with turn 1 boards, and obviously you just go straight into this a lot of times. And then we have 3 copies of Valhalla, Living Fossil, and then Babel, and then Blaze Accelerator and Climax. For the extra deck, we got the Warlord Furious, Starving Venom, and then we have the Orcus, Dingirsu, then we have Orchestron, Topologic, Boral Sword, Longirsu, and then we have the Unicorn, Phoenix. I actually really still like Cerberus, to be honest. You can go ahead and put that in if you want. And then the Galatea, then Brute Enforcer, and then Cerberus, and Double Bite Dragon, and the Mermaid. Like I said, if you guys do want to go ahead and try out Christia, let me know how it goes for you guys. I do want to make a more pure variant, but I'm going to throw in Christia. Like, Christia is one of the go-to cards, and I'll probably throw 3 in Nibiru, because right now, our main deck 3 copies in Nibiru and everything. It only really is unfortunate when you play against the Pendulum deck, and of course they're playing like the Cerberus engine. And then you're like, well, that's unfortunate. But that's just the way Yu-Gi-Oh goes sometimes. It's just, I really like Nibiru. But anyways, that's it for the deck profile. Let me go as what you think about Valkyries, and if there is any other like competitive builds. But I think this is the most competitive build that I've ever seen out of Valkyries, because a lot of times the deck just falls apart relatively quick. But I think Orcus can definitely make it much better, especially with Sigrun. It definitely helps out. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like on it. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, turn on that bell if you want to see more Yu-Gi-Oh content. And if you want to send in any replays, let's just like my boy Teriyaki. Yo, shouts to you once again. Feel free to send it in to AzneyesReplays@gmail.com. But thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one. I'm signing out. Peace.